Well, hello, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world. I've got to put my sunglasses back up because it's really a bright silver sky here today in the north, up here in the Dakotas. Anyway, I want to talk to you guys. How do you deal with anxiety and depression? This is one of the ways I do. I'm going to give you a few tips, simple tips, and hang on till the end. I'll keep it short to give you a one final tip that I think will really help. I'm not a doctor, but I've worked in the mental health field and people with disabilities for over 30 years. I'm also a musician, songwriter, recording artist, nobody famous. But you know, I struggled for years off and on with anxiety and depression, and it's not easy to talk about it. I still feel that tinge of shame even after talking about it, going to counseling, being in groups, having some good supportive friends. I still get that feeling when I talk about it, because there's a lot tied into it, and I don't want to get into it all today. It goes back to, way back to when I was a kid, and my best friend that I grew up with, he was my brother's pretty much. I guess he was my brother, my cousin. We did everything together. 2 weeks before I graduated high school, he was killed on his motorcycle. Sorry. Didn't think I was gonna apologize. Anyway, sometimes it just hits you here, on these gloomy days. I'm not depressed, but anyway, he was giving a young lady a ride, and he was a year younger than me, and he was coming up a windy road on the edge of town, going up a hill, and he hit some gravel and slid. He pushed her off the back of this motorcycle. He said, "Oh, shit," and saved her life. She broke her arm, and he took the full brunt going into a pickup that was coming down the hill. Anyway, at the time that happened, it shook our family to the foundations, and I was in shock when I got the word shortly after. I couldn't believe it, and it took me a long time to come to grips with that. I thought it should have been me. I was going to a church at the time where they were a loving church. People were kind, but there was a lot of legalism crept in, and a lot of going from the love, now we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do. And I wanted to please, I believe in God, I wanted to please him. And so I was, from morning to night, trying to do and don't do this, even burned a pile of record albums, because they said, hey, if you want to sell out to God, give him everything you got to get rid of all your records. That was back in the this will date me, but mid-1980s. Anyway, hang in there with me. Hopefully I won't go on too long here. It's just felt like I should say something today. So looking up the block here to see if one of my old buddies is outside, an 80-year-old fellow friend of mine. So this caused what I didn't find out till a good friend of mine pointed out to me just a few short years ago: religious PTSD. I also had survivor's guilt because I felt I was ready to go. I was ready to go home. And I didn't know if my best friend, my brother, was. I hadn't talked to him much in the last few months, and I wanted to share some things on my heart, and I didn't have time. It was too late. And being an 8-year-old kid, that did a number on me. I couldn't talk about it much for years. But then later on, I couldn't go to church for a few years, and then I decided, a friend of mine, he was a youth pastor, good friend, musician, he said, you come help me out at his church. So about 5 years after college, that's what I did. I helped, and we went on trips and ski trips with the kids, took the kids out, and it was good. But I suffered for years. I mean, I just couldn't. People may be looking out their windows thinking, who am I talking to? I don't have a gimbal or whatever you call those things to get a sore arm. That's why I'm going to try to keep it short. But anyway, so going through the 1990s and that, I went to different groups. I went to a minor treatment program for depression, and I was drinking a little more than I should to cover up the pain, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. I was going through a custody battle for my daughter, and then I started getting some weird symptoms, and this lasted for about 3 years. I was constantly had anxiety, and I was constantly depressed. I could relieve it by exercise sometimes. I tried various medications, and the doctors and people would say to try, and actually put me in the emergency room. Nothing was working. I felt I was kind of in a living hell. And I was trying to do everything I could, begging God for help. And he put friends in my life. He put people in my life, and they kept saying, be good to yourself. And I thought, well, be good to myself. I need to actually crack the whip more on myself. So I ended up, sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm going up a hill here. I come to find out what was causing a lot of it, along with the other things I talked about, was I had a tooth that was being worked on. I had a root canal, and that tooth, they had an extra root that they missed. It's common, these large roots or something, they can be missed because there's a little offshoot root. And it didn't really show symptoms other than I'd get headaches and feel flu-like for 2 or 3 days, and then I'd feel better again, a little better. And then they would cause anxiety too, and then it would kind of ripple, and just neck aches, wake up just feeling like I had the flu. So here I went to another specialist, and they said, yeah, this thing's been infecting for 3 years because it was sealed in there. Well, after I got that tooth taken care of by a specialist, I felt better almost in 2 weeks, like I hadn't felt three years. Well, I still wasn't feeling normal. It took me years. But one thing that also was going on is they were pumping me full of antihistamines, and I was having sinus issues because of the tooth, so I was bouncing off the wall from the side effects of the antihistamines. And then I was having trouble with seasonal affective disorder. It was a mess. My friends could testify to all this, and my wife. And somehow people didn't really notice. I hid it pretty well. But I had a few bad bouts where I didn't even want to be around. And, so I could have very well ended up over there, cemetery. I don't know how I didn't, but I'm going to switch hands here a second. So, sorry for the wiggly. I got to get a gimbal thing. I lost my thinking track here. So I ended up getting off of all that, and they were giving me like a steroid shot too for some of these bad allergy things I was having. Well, I quit that too. I just quit them all. And I was on a small amount of medication that was kind of helping take the edge off of everything. And I got back into music and a band and some good people. I was playing some music I'd never played before, bluegrass. And I'm going to get to a couple tips here real quick. Hang in there. But some of them I've already explained that you should look into if you're struggling and nobody can figure out what's going on with your symptoms. Gotta watch out for the ice here. And so the music helped, being around people helped, forcing myself to get out helped, keeping a job helped. I was grateful that working with people with disabilities, there's times I came in with neck aches and back aches. I've also had a back injury and some severe pain, and that 2 surgeries, and that made it terrible. I was able to go to work, and thanks to my supervisors and my boss at the time, I could go in and ice my back or my neck and get my work done and sit down again and work while I'm sitting in a nice recliner type chair, and that really helped. So I had these things that helped with take care of myself, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't deserve this. I should be denying myself and helping more people. You know, I mean, I felt selfish. So anyway, I should walk in the park so neighbor people don't think I'm crazy. So that's just part of the story. But about 5 years ago, so because of grace, I'm going to say, I believe in God, and you don't have to, that's okay. I'm not pushing anything on you, but I want to say because of God's grace, when I just let go and I quit going to church and I quit pressuring myself, I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't pressure myself with all these things. People came into my life, I think, that said, hey, look at this situation, and there was different religious practice thoughts that came into my mind that would keep me down. And some very smart, common sense people that had theology that I'd studied for years pointed out some things to me I'd never seen. And so I was able to give myself grace. So there's your key. That's the number one thing. This is your tip for the end. After everything I've said, give yourself grace. Even in 12-step meetings, that's the number one thing they say. You need to give yourself grace and just rest in grace, rest in God's grace, and also be good to yourself. Whenever you feel like being bad to yourself or whatever it is, do the opposite. Be good to yourself. Do something nice for yourself, a little something. And the final tip that has really helped me tremendously is what I'm doing today, along with taking nature's vitamins. The final tip has been walking. It's been a lifesaver for me. I can visit with people, I can communicate with nature, and I can, I feel sometimes like a whole different person at the end of my walks. And I only need to do 20 minutes to maybe 45 minutes a day. And it's amazing. It's addictive after you start. Just start a little bit at a time, even if it's just 10 minutes or down the block and back the first time if you have trouble with your knees or weight. But it's tremendously helped. I've had many neurosurgeons and doctors and PTs that I'm friends with that say that is the best thing you can do for everything is walk. So that's my tip for you. Please leave a comment, give me a like and subscribe, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. I really do. I want feedback, and I hope this helps. All right. God bless.